Rabotai, welcome back to another class on Evean Hazaer Halacha series. We are continuing in Siman Aleph in Halacha Chet. This will be part 3 of the Shi'ur in Tziv Katan Yud. In the Cham, we're going to start off from the middle of the Cham where he says V'alfa gav de l'chora. Where we left off in part 2, that's where we're going to continue in part 3. But before we continue there, let's just get the opinion of the Cham in. The Cham said that if a person is not able to find any woman without first selling the Sefer Torah, he's allowed to go ahead and sell the Sefer Torah and marry a woman who's barren. We asked why, because he explained, we don't want him to be without a wife. Why don't I want him to be without a wife? Because of sinful thoughts. We don't want him to be thinking about women chas v'shalom. We don't want him to do averos. Fine. Came to Cham, and he's the one who gave this, he's the one who introduced to us this halacha, and he says, I'll tell you something. You can learn it out from the words of the Shulchan Aruch, you can learn it out from the words of the Trumat edition, and you can learn it out also from Milchemet Hashem L'Ramban. He brought us 3 Rishonim that say you can learn out the way the Cham wants to learn it out. Again, Rabotai, this is only a short review. Please refer back to part 2 to see the whole equation. So now that we know that Cham says you are allowed to go ahead and sell the Sefer Torah in order to be able to marry a woman who's barren, because we want to protect him from sin, and he shouldn't stay without a wife, comes the Cham and he says, Ve'af agav, and even though the l'chora seemingly, divrei nimuki Yosef soter lezeh, even though seemingly the words of the Nimuki Yosef, they contradict my words. Meaning to say, the Nimuki Yosef will tell you, as we'll see, that if you're selling a Sefer Torah for a barren woman, it's asur. So he says, seemingly that's the way it seems from his words. So one more time. Even though seemingly the words of the Nimuki Yosef, they contradict my words, says the Cham. Hevia Beit Yosef Siman Zeh Sivkat and Yud Bet. The Beit Yosef brought him down in the Siman and Sivkat and Yud Bet, meaning he brought down the Nimuki Yosef. V'zeh lo shoyno. And this is the language of the Nimuki Yosef. Svara de Ravata de Had Rabbi Yeshua mid Rabbanim. The Chachamim, the rabbis, they held this statement of what Rabbi Yeshua says is only from the rabbis. What did Rabbi Yeshua say? So it says over in parentheses, the Tanya was taught in the Baraita. Rabbi Yeshua says, Nasa isha biyaduto isa b'zikunuto. If a person got married when he was young, if he married a woman when he was young, he should also marry a woman when he's old. You had children when you were younger, you should also have children when you're going to be older. Like it says in Kohelet, Perik Yud Aleph Pasuk Vav, in the morning you should plant your seeds, and at night you should not hold your hand back from it. So comes the Chachamim, and they say that this teaching of Rabbi Yehoshua that learns from the word that you still have to bring more children to the world even after you had fulfilled the mitzvah Pururu, they want to learn that all this statement is from the rabbis. Why? The imidoraita, because if it's from the Torah, it can't make sense. Why can't it make sense? Because it's clearly Kol shekiyem Pururu niftar. Anybody that fulfilled the mitzvah of having a boy and a girl, he's exempt from bringing more children to the world. So how can the pasuk of V'le'erev al techetcha come and tell me you have to bring more children? On the contrary, the Torah tells you are exempt. If you're going to tell me another pasuk in the Torah says you're chayav, it's going to be contradictory. So there we have to learn that this statement of Rabbi Yeshua, when he says V'le'erev al techetcha, that means even in your older age you have to populate and bring more children to the world. You have to learn that it's only from the rabbis. Why is it only from the rabbis? Because once a person has a boy and a girl, the Torah exempts him. The Torah exempts him. This continuing bringing children to the world has to be only from the rabbis. V'uadin, he says, the same halacha is going to apply. B'makir atzmo she'en ra'ui l'holi patur. Same halacha is going to apply to a person who knows himself. Chas v'sham lo'olin rabota. He knows he's not able to bring children to the world. He's also patur. So, what should this person do that cannot have children? Right, that he's not able to bring children to the world. Rather, he should marry a woman that's barren. Why? Because of sin, like Rav Nachman said. We don't want a guy to be by himself because we're afraid of the sinful situation that can come out of it. Whether you want to learn the sinful thoughts, sinful actions, looking at women, whatever you want to learn. But sins can come out from that when a guy is alone. It's not good for a guy to be alone. Umistaber, now comes the Nimuk Yosef and he says, Umistaber, and it makes sense, it makes logical sense, the Kishir Ha'ul Leholid, when it's fit for the man to bring children to the world, Mocher Sefer Torah, Mocher Sefer Torah, you're allowed to go ahead and sell the Sefer Torah, Mishum Rabbi Yeshua, because of the statement of what Rabbi Yeshua had said, meaning to bring more children to the world. But even though it's a mitzvah d'Rabbanan, you might ask yourself a question. If is a mitzvah d'Rabbanan, why am I selling a Sefer Torah in order to marry a woman who's going to bring me more children to the world in order to populate the land? Remember, he already did the mitzvah pruvu. So why would you want to sell a Sefer Torah if it's only mitzvah d'Rabbanan? So he says, that's not a question why. When did we say that you're not allowed to sell a Sefer Torah? That's specifically in regards to a woman that's barren. But in any other situation, the Torah did not restrict you. So if you don't have a restriction, then good, you're allowed to go ahead and sell the Sefer Torah, even in a situation where the mitzvah is only from the rabbis, meaning just to populate, because you already did the mitzvah puru. Continues the Nimuki Yosef, and he says, V'chen halacha, and that's going to be the halacha. He brings down, read the Nimuki Yosef, and says, Haridva, Zal, he brings out this name in the name of, he brings his whole teaching in the name of the Ritva, and he says, At kan loshon, up to here is the language of the Nimuki Yosef. That means like this, Rabotai. The Nimuki Yosef actually brought the Ritva that stated everything that the Nimuki Yosef just said. Continues now the Cham, and from here the Cham wants to make this whole comparison or this whole contradiction against him. From these words, here we go. From the fact that it was taught over here in the words of the Nimuki Yosef, which he quoted from the words of the Ritva, from the fact that it said over there, when did we answer you? When did we forbid you to sell the Sefer Torah? That's only in regards to marrying a woman that is barren. If so, then we see from over here that the Nimuki Yosef held the lo yimchor Sefer Torah lisa isha she'en bat banim. You're not allowed. You shouldn't sell a Sefer Torah to marry a woman that's not childbearing. That is the way we're understanding it from the Nimuki Yosef. So it comes out over here that the Nimuki Yosef is arguing on the Cham, because the Cham said you are allowed to sell the Sefer Torah in order to marry a barren woman, because we don't want the guy to be without a wife. If he's without a wife, he's going to think sinful thoughts. And the Cham himself brings the Nimuki Yosef where he says, seemingly it seems, what do you mean seems? It clearly says, that's clearly what's implied, that the Nimuki Yosef is telling you clearly that a person, a woman that's barren, you're not allowed to go ahead and sell a Sefer Torah in order to marry such a woman. Continues the Cham and he says, Yesh lefarish divrei Nimuki Yosef ba'oifen shelo yachlok al zeh v'dork. He says you could explain the words of the Nimuki Yosef in a way where he doesn't argue on this. He doesn't argue on my statement. He says, if you look into it carefully, you're going to see it that he doesn't argue on my statement. Rabotai comes out like this. Comes the Cham and the Cham says, this is what I said before in the beginning, that if a person already did the mitzvah pru'urvu, and he's not able to marry even a barren woman because he doesn't have the financial stability, you are allowed to go ahead and sell the Sefer Torah in order to go ahead and marry a barren woman. You're allowed to do it. What's the whole reason we allow you to do it? Because we don't want him to be without a wife. Because if he's going to be without a wife, he's going to have bad thoughts. Comes in the Cham and he tells you now like this. Before the Cham said that from the words of the Shulchan Aruch you could also learn that. From the words of the Trumat Hadeshin you could learn that. From the words of Milchemet Hashem Ramban you could learn that. Now, one second. Now he says over here, even the Nimuki Yosef, you could play around with his words. that they're going to come out exactly like me. That she would be allowed to go ahead and sell a Sefer Torah in order to marry a barren woman, because you wouldn't want the guy to be without a wife, because if he's going to be without a wife, he's going to chas v'shalom come and have bad